Hello everybody, welcome to the session on supercurricular activity. I'm Amy, I'm one of the regional managers at the Cambridge Admissions Office. My regions are North America and Australasia, and I'm joined with Anayat, who is a fellow regional manager, and he will be presenting the session today. So yeah, we'll jump straight in, and hopefully you find this session useful. I'll pass over to Anayat to take us through the first few slides.
Thank you very much, Amy. Hi, everyone. My name is Inayat. I'm the Regional Manager for Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. During this presentation, we will be answering 4 key questions, which we often get asked from students and counsellors. And that is, what is supercurricular activity? Why is it useful? How do we include them? And where can I find out more? So to begin with, supercurricular activity can be defined as things you do and experiences you gain that extend and deepen your knowledge of the curriculum. It takes the subjects you study further beyond what you have learned at school. This often begs the question, what is the difference between extra and supercurricular activity? Now, extracurricular activity is done outside of your studies, but typically not related to the subject you're applying for. This might include things like sports, charity work, or playing an instrument. As great as these activities are and as important as they are for developing soft skills such as communication and team building, we cannot academically assess them alone. Whereas supercurricular activity is directly related to the subject you're applying for by allowing you to develop hard skills. For example, if you're applying to law and you're part of the debating society, you should be able to demonstrate your deductive reasoning. Often these types of skills will be drawn out in the interview process. Similarly, if you're interested in computer science and have partaken in a coding competition or a robotics competition or a math Olympiad, your technical skills can be measured. So why is supercurricular activity useful? Well, first of all, it allows you to develop your research skills and build your interest towards a subject area. But it requires you to be self-motivated and take initiative. Not everyone around you will be interested in the exact same thing you are, and so you must identify your particular interests and find ways to get involved. As you get increasingly involved, it allows you to apply your knowledge practically whilst gaining experiences and picking up new skills. And this in turn can be applied back to the theory in the classroom, which should allow you to have a higher level of understanding and performance in the related subject. And finally, it demonstrates to both yourself and the university that you are committed to the subject or area of interest, and this is the right course for you. I will now hand it over to Amy.
Thanks, Anayat. That was a really useful kind of introduction to supercurricular activities. And I'm now just going to take us through and talk about how we might, or how your students might approach supercurricular. So there isn't a right or wrong way to approach supercurricular activities, but a good start is encouraging your students to find a topic or topics that they are particularly interested in, and it's really all about exploring these topics further. So we'll offer some examples in kind of the following slides so we can really kind of dig into exactly what those might look like. But ultimately it is about engaging with content that goes beyond the school curriculum. So making a student think a little bit deeper about their subject at a more advanced level. This is really going to be similar to the way that they'll be engaging with materials on their course at Cambridge. So in this way, it's really good preparation. It is really useful for students to keep a log of activity they're doing. So this encourages them to start the process of thinking critically and analytically about what they're engaging with. They could be jotting down kind of key learnings or thoughts around what they're engaging with. And it's also really important to have something to reflect back on when it comes to constructing the personal statements and kind of evidencing that supercurricular engagement. And we'll talk more about kind of the personal statement and how to include that as we go through the session as well. And we don't just want lists interests in the log. So it's really important for them to be able to have that as a starting point to reflect on their supercurricular exploration. And also it allows them to consider what skills they've learnt or improved during this experience as well. So that's kind of a way of approaching supercurricular exploration, finding some topics and then kind of keeping a record of how students are engaging with that. At Cambridge, we're not particularly prescriptive about what supercurricular activity looks like. So it can take kind of many different forms. We've got some examples here on the slide. So one of the examples might be directed reading. So this might be a book that has been suggested by a subject teacher. It might be a magazine subscription, or it might be an online journal, things like that. Also online resources. There are a plethora of online resources, including many that have been set up by Cambridge departments for the exact purpose of kind of supercurricular exploration. And this again is really encouraging students to think about their subject in a more advanced way. And we can signpost to some of those resources as we go through the slides. Project work is also a really great way to engage with supercurricular exploration. So although things like the EPQs, the extended essays, the AP capstones wouldn't typically form part of a standard offer, they can be really useful in developing a student's independent study and research skills, which are very kind of vital to and valuable to kind of higher education, especially in the UK. And it also, these types of projects also allow them kind of a flexibility to examine a particular topic according to their specific interests. So they can serve as a really fantastic way to engage in a supercurricular way. There's also university activities. Many university activities can be another good form of supercurricular engagement. This might be online programs, or it might be something at a local university to you. So, for example, master classes or summer schools or summer programs. At Cambridge, we have subject masterclasses, some of which do take place virtually. So keep a lookout for those. That they're often a fun way to engage with kind of Cambridge specific content. We also have our pre-university summer program, which is again kind of a preparatory course that your students might be interested in. But obviously there will be universities around the world in locations more local to you that offer these types of programs as well. So those are the types of things you can be encouraging your students to look for and engage with as part of their supercurricular exploration. The final one there on the slide is work experience. So this isn't expected or required for any of our courses, but it can be a really good way to engage in supercurricular kind of fields. And especially for kind of more vocational subjects, so medicine, veterinary medicine, it can help to kind of strengthen an application by demonstrating an understanding and a commitment to the intended kind of profession. So this can be a kind of another string to a student's bow as well. So any of these types of activities will really be helpful in building a student's subject knowledge, encouraging them to engage around the subject area and kind of getting a deeper understanding of certain areas, which will then help them during our application process when they are required to draw on and draw from this wider knowledge to engage with parts of the admissions process, such as admissions assessments, interviews as well. So yeah, those are some kind of examples of supercurricular activities. How to then incorporate them in the personal statement is something that we'll just look at briefly. The personal statement, as you know, is a kind of big part of the UCAS form and really students' initial opportunity to sell themselves to us as universities. And so obviously they're telling us why they want to study their subject and critically what they've done already to engage with it. And that's where the supercurricular kind of evidencing comes in. At Cambridge, it's not the only thing that we're using to inform the application and our admissions decisions, but it is still an important kind of piece of that puzzle. As I said, it's really the first way that students are evidencing their supercurricular exploration to universities. So we would really at Cambridge expect at least 80% of the personal statement to be academic focused, so related to topics covered in schools and then that supercurricular portion as well. As we kind of touched on already, we don't want just kind of lists of things. We really want a student to use the personal statement to reflect critically and analytically with how they've engaged with the subject already. So not just I've read this book or X, Y, and Z, but actually I have read this book and I was interested in this particular subject area. And something I found particularly interesting in this was this, because of this. So something that really kind of goes a little bit further. So there are some kind of examples on the slide there, but something I'm keen to explore further is maybe this, or something that I found particularly challenging was this. So it's definitely about quality of content rather than quantity. Really identifying when constructing the personal statement, what conveys a student's passion and enthusiasm most effectively, and then also what they're confident talking about and around, because often the personal statement is used as a starting point for interview. So it's important that the student is able to talk confidently around any supercurricular examples that they're putting in their personal statement. Because Cambridge is a purely kind of academic admissions review, as kind of Inaya explained at the beginning, we do make that distinction between supercurricular and extracurricular. So this means that the extracurricular kind of mentions in the personal statement are less important for us at Cambridge, but there is still that kind of 20% room at the bottom there, as per the slide, if you are or if your student is applying to other UK universities who might place more emphasis on these. So just to recap, really, each experience is unique and personal, so there's no right or wrong way to approach supercurricular engagement. It's fine if you have different students who are approaching it differently. The key thing is really that they're doing it and they are engaging with their subject beyond the school curriculum. That's really going to help strengthen their application, because it's demonstrating that passion, enthusiasm, and also helping to increase their kind of understanding of their wider subject. We're not just interested in what students have done, again, reiterating it's not just the lists, but instead how they can reflect critically and analytically around these activities. It's important for students to be selective about what they're telling us. We do appreciate that most students will have done far more supercurricular activities and be engaging more widely than they've been able to tell us about in the personal statement. But being selective and being able to identify kind of key areas that really help to demonstrate what they're trying to kind of tell us about their interest in the subject is really kind of a key skill that you're going to need at university. Part of the university experience, really being able to be selective and create an argument. The personal statement is almost the kind of first step into that. So that's kind of worth remembering, really, that it is about, again, we've said it a few times, but quality over quantity. Just a few resources then to leave you with. We have many resources available on our website. one of the really key resources is our suggestions by subject. So we have a PDF that that outlines kind of some suggestions by course. So that's a really useful starting point if a student isn't quite sure on where to begin. That can be accessed via the applying pages on our undergraduate study websites. My HE Plus is also a website, online resources specifically created by departments at the University of Cambridge in many subject areas, again, for the purpose of kind of encouraging students to think around their subjects and beyond the school curriculum. So do encourage your students to check out my HE Plus. There are also some more subject-specific sites, especially in the kind of STEM subjects. So we have, for example, Isaac Physics and Isaac Computer Science. We also have I Want to Study Engineering, and there's Enrich for Maths, which is NRICH, Enrich. And these are all, again, resources that are designed by university departments to really encourage students to think about their subject in a way that is more similar to, and so preparing them for undergraduate study at Cambridge, really encouraging them to push their understanding of their subject a little bit further, and also check and kind of confirm that it is the subject that they want to study at university and that it's the right kind of path for them as well. So yeah, would really encourage you to signpost some of these resources to your students, or at least, as well, kind of have a look at yourself at the types of things that is kind of going on in these pages. So yeah, those are some key takeaways from